So I thought I'd make a little video about the non-Ozzy, non-DIO Sabbath albums. Seeing as there's this new box set of all of the Tony Martin albums that's been released. Well, all except for this record, Eternal Idol. Possibly my favorite of the three, but we're going to get into that. So I thought I'd just make a little video about the albums that don't feature Dio and the albums that don't feature Ozzy. Obviously, it's been a long time that I've been championing some of those records, going way back. Initially, just to annoy people who always said, "Oh, Sabbath is only Ozzy, etc." I mean, I get that. I do understand that. To be honest, Sabbath is, I think, sort of at the heart of it, whatever Iommi sort of says it is. I understand the differences in the tones and the changes in the so many different members. It is kind of crazy how many members, when you actually look at the Wikipedia, that there is. It's insane. But what can you do? It's the situation that Black Sabbath found themselves in 83 was so much more different than 73, and everybody talks about the other albums anyway. And admittedly, I was just being annoying in 92, going, "Oh, I love Dehumanizer. I think it's one of the best records of 1992." And everybody's like, "Oh, who the fuck is listening to Black Sabbath in 1992? We've got Blazing the Northern Sky and stuff." Well, that's fair enough. You could have both, actually. But I just thought I'd make a little video until I can get my friend Adi from Solsphere to come in and talk about all of the Black Sabbath albums. But let's have a little look at what happened. Well, obviously, you know the story about how the band fell apart in 78. Ozzy left, Dio comes in, then Dio leaves. It's purported to be about the mixing of the album Live Evil, that he didn't like it. I don't know. They lasted two amazing albums, and if you look up the sales of Heaven and Hell, they seem to suggest it finished at about 4.8, 4.7 million, which is really, really big. So I always talk about this and think about this is to go from downsizing from several million to stadiums to selling 200,000 is, a huge downsizing. You're not even 10% as big as you once were. You're 5%. And over the years of making records myself, you notice a small up and down or whatever here and there. But this huge tail off must be, you must flounder you must flounder. Interesting. Must be an insane thing to go from being such, on top of the world in 1976 to 1986. No one wants to really know your name. It always struck me with the hair rock, the glam rock bands, and how they only had 4 or 5 years before Nevermind came in and just cut the head off the snake. And it was like, okay, your career is over. Sorry, Mr. Rat, you've got to go back to filling vending machines or whatever it was, So Sabbath found themselves sort of in the middle of nowhere. And this is, Ian Gillan, there for 2 years. I never liked this record. I had an debate with JB of Grand Magus, the incredibly silken voiced JB. He loves it. I was just like, come on, really? It's an ugly looking sort of record, but again, I've seen people now wearing purple shirts of this, and it's beginning to it has a kind of kitsch charm. I guess it's supposed to be like sort of The Omen or something like this, the sort of designs. It's an ugly fucking looking record, but it seems to have been the product of a drunken night in the pub. And then so the story goes that Ian Gillan woken up the next day and his manager was like, apparently you've joined Black Sabbath, because him and Tony Iommi were just out on the sauce. And this is the product. It's a weird record because it's huge, heavy snare. Trashed is about drink driving, Stonehenge. I don't know, the lyrics, the whole theme and tone from the Dio records, which is quite serious and got this quite heavy tone. This seems slightly whimsical, slightly more sort of kitsch, hammer horror-y. But I've listened to this now maybe half a dozen times in the last couple of months, and it's starting to, after like 20, 30 years, I mean, I don't know how bloody long I've owned this record, But I sort of go, okay, I can get this sort of trashed as a kind of slightly wild, almost garage rocky kind of all over the place intensity. The production is actually pretty heavy. Not as awful as I felt it was in 1989 or 1991. Disturbing the Priest is a pretty cool song. Born Again. But again, it's a weird afterthought of a record. And of course, the story about their manager of the time designing Stonehenge and putting meters instead of feet or something in the design, and then the prop people made these 15-meter high Stonehenges that they couldn't get into the venues they were playing, which of course ended up being parodied in Spinal Tap. It's a strange, odd record that I must admit, sitting here looking at it, has a kind of gritty, kitschy aesthetic appeal that I think now speaks more to certain people. Kind of witches and warlocks of Instagram type aesthetic. It's got something going for it. And I suppose the story goes that Sabbath played in Ireland for this, one of their few gigs, and Ian Gillan never really learnt the lyrics of the songs from the 70s and used to write them on sheets of paper on the ground. I mean, who would ever do that? And the dry ice was so thick that he couldn't see them, and he bent down to try and sweep away the dry ice and split his pants. And this was back in the day when you were playing like the Dalymount Park, which is like this grotty old Irish football stadium, and he had to disappear to the backstage, be driven in a little cart or something to change his pants, and the band played the whole first song and a half instrumental. I don't know how true that is, but apparently that's the story. Born Again, yeah. And then you get this sort of what seems like a kind of like a cocaine hiatus, where the band are sort of all over the place, changing labels. Some of the bands they toured at this time is kind of crazy. Well, actually, it's more crazy as it comes up. But Quiet Riot, Night Ranger, and Diamond Head for the tour. Then they can. This is a weird record. I really like it. It's you know, what can you say? It's the tassels, the jacket tassels that set off 1,000, 2,000. Look at that. Look at the tassels on the back of that. I mean, this is the dream of every witch of Instagram who goes to Muscle Rock and stuff, to have tassels so great. We won't even get into the mustache. It could be Graham Souness on and maybe there's another string theory world somewhere where Graham Souness is the guitar player of Black Sabbath and Iomi is kicking people in the centre circle. That's a 1980s football reference, which will be of no good to you whatsoever. I really like this record. This is 1987. I think it's kind of like demos. Feels like there's a lot of Peruvian marching powder gone into this, a lot of Hollywood Hills parties gone into this, and Glenn Hughes sings, Deep Purple bass player, the voice of rock, they call him. Beautiful, soulful, silky voice, full of power. Still has it. Still incredible. He's singing with Black Country Communion at the moment. And his voice is so powerful. But I really like this. Turn to Stone is great. The title track is doomy. Danger Zone. Okay, I mean, Heart Like a Wheel, I really like. Angry Heart. It's just great hard rock. I get it. It's missing that 70s vibe, but it's not 1974 anymore. It's 1987. And I get it. It's got a lot of sort of hard rock aesthetics. Probably you could hear some Dokken or Wasp in similarities with some of the tone and stuff, but it's still got classic Iommi riffing. The label wouldn't release it as a Tony Iommi solo album. I understand why. What I have here is some Eastern European pressing. Looks like total crap, but if you've kind of stayed away from this record for no good reason, listen, it's got Glenn Hughes singing on it, and I mean that enough is usually entry to at least having listened to any record, if you ask me. They started a tour after this. I think no one was happy with the idea that it was Black Sabbath. Hughes didn't want to sing for Black Sabbath, and he just sort of went, all right, I quit. I think they did 6 or 7 days. That was sort of it. It's unusual, though, that some of the other singers who were rumoured to be tried out, they apparently tried out Michael Bolton. I don't know how that would have worked out. Can you imagine that mullet and that moustache? If that was Michael Bolton over here on this side. You would have had this incredible flowing mullet and this amazing tash on the other side. I'm not sure that the world could have coped with, you know, like, for example, imagine Michael Bolton just there on the cover. Now we're talking. Anyway, still, it's a great record. I prefer it to Born Again. So come at me. So come at me. So then what happens is you get Ray Gillan, who's like some LA, I think, Pretty Boys vocalist, who sadly died in a motorbike accident. And he kind of left after making demos for this record, Eternal Idol. This is the one that's not in the box set. I think it's because it's on Vertigo, and they wouldn't release the record. Again, it's a Discog special. It's not worth as much money as the other two, which I'll come on to talk about. But those three records, the three Tony Martin records, are hard to find. These are pickups I got for like €1-2 way back. Ray Gillan originally sang on this. He then went off to form, I think, Damn Yankees and Badlands. Great voice. I mean, really strong hard rock voice. But some of what I understand, left the band, and so they were left in the lurch for, this is sometime in 1986. Terrible artwork, by the way. What is going on here? Again, all of these records I'm talking about all have a different logo. Like, there's no aesthetic continuity. At least in the 1970s, okay, things changed, but you could still, you knew, oh, that's a Black Sabbath record. Does this look like a Black Sabbath record to you? I'm not even, not in a 70s retro way, but it's just like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know. This is, in my opinion, a brilliant hard rock record. Glory Ride, Born to Lose. Oh, these are, Lost Forever is a, if Manowar made this song on Fight in the World, people would be like, this is the best song, or one of the best songs on Fight in the World. This is great, and the vocals are powerful. I'm going to say it here and right now, Tony Martin is probably technically the best singer whoever sang in Black Sabbath. Technically, I'm not talking about character or soul or all that kind of thing. Look, Dio is a better singer, but there is just, there's some technical stuff here. Now, I understand, that sounds like sacrilege and blasphemy. I get it. I'm not saying it has the soul, it has the character, there's something missing at the heart of these records, and that is the personality of a Dio, of an Ozzy or something. But technically, there is some soaring vocals on here. And The Shining, Ancient Warrior, it's a really strong record. I would really recommend finding this. This is, I think, 1987. 1987. I would strongly recommend that. I think part of the problem now is that Sabbath are really beginning to downsize. They are going from, I suppose, playing 20,000 to maybe 1,000, 1,200 people. Times are really changing. I mean, there's tours that happen in the early 90s with Morbid Angel, Motorhead, Tiamat, Cathedral, all this kind of time. So, let me have a look here. Yeah, Eternal Idol, December 87. Sorry, I'm busy looking at, vaguely looking at a bit of Wikipedia. And I mean, I think you've listened to in the interview with Iommi and Martin, who looks super uncomfortable in his odd hat. I wonder how long it took him to pick out that hat for the interview. Anyway, they look a bit uncomfortable, but that box set is without a doubt worth having a look at, worth picking up. But this is a Discogs expensive record. I got this for next to nothing. Must be early 90s. I mean, now it's taken on iconic status, and it's many people's favorite. And again, it's a brilliant record. Nightwing, Marduk album, Mr. Hawkinson. Killing the Spirit World, The Gates of Hell, Headless Crosses. I mean, it's got Cozy Powell on drums. It's a great heavy metal record. It's very epic. This is 1988, I think. They're being dropped by labels right, left, and center here. I think this is one is with dropped by Vertigo. This is IRS Records. Who else is on this? Jeff Nichols, of course. Lawrence Cade on bass. Okay, fair enough. Cozy Powell. I mean, look, Cozy Powell. Enough is, you should have a look into this record. Now, it's taken a long time for this to be reissued. I think that people are really, like I said, trying to find this on Discos, or trying to find this as a sort of mini little holy grail, a holy egg cup or something, if you will. This is 1989, I think it came out. Again, the band are being slaughtered in reviews. They're being, Ozzy's career has taken off. He's doing like No Rest for the Wicked, I think is 88. So by 1991, he slowly reinvented himself with Ozfest, and Ozzy is just totally on the way up, and Sabbath is completely on the way down. I mean, they're still, there says there they tour with openers Kingdom Come and Silent Rage, cancelled because of poor ticket sales in the USA. European leg of the tour, and they were supported by Russian tour with Girls' School. Wow, 23 days in Russia in 89. Woohoo! God damn it. I would like to see some video footage of 23 shows in Russia. Oof. Mikhail Gorbachev opened the country to Western acts the first time in 89. Wow. Yeah, this is a great record, Headless Cross. It's really, really... now, for people who say, oh, it's my favourite Black Sabbath record, I mean, come on. But, it's very good. And this, again, a fucking hard record to get. This one is kind of beautiful looking, I reckon. This is one, I bought this somewhere way back in like maybe, I don't know what's going on with these squiggles on the back here, but I bought this way back in the early 90s, and it really appealed to, somehow it reminded me of Bathory, Twilight of the Gods, and it is an album that's set in Viking mythology, and it does have this kind of, there's something very a bit more English. Doesn't make any sense about this record than LA rain-soaked kind of, or rain-soaked, sunshine-soaked. If Dublin is getting to me now. Sort of, there's much less cocaine in this record, it feels, than there was in Seventh Star, for example. It's much less hard, glam rocky kind of tone. It's very epic metal. I mean, if the likes of an Atlantean Codex, or whoever, Primordial Enslaved, whatever, Abath ripped out riffs like this, people would be like, oof, back in form. Again, peerless vocals, really, really amazing. Anima Monday, The Lawmaker, that's a great song. The Sabbath Stones, Battle of Tyr, Odin's Court, Valhalla, Heaven in Black. I mean, you can't argue with Neil Murray on bass, Cozy Powell again on drums. This is 1990 now. This is a great record, and I think they toured with Morbid Angel and Tiamat or something like this. Circus of Power in Europe. Wow, Circus of Power. And the final 7 United Kingdom dates were cancelled in the UK because of poor ticket sales. There you go. Kind of says it all. So those are the 3 main records that you're getting in your... I'm not, please send me some money for doing promo for your box set. But those are the 3 kind of essential... What am I doing here? The 3 essential Tony Martin records. And those are the 3 originals picked up for I think a grand total of a $5 before eBay and Discogs ruined record finding. And then what happens, you get for no real reason, it says here, but you know what the reason is. I don't have this on record. This is another bloody hard record to find. Black Sabbath, Dehumanizer. Of course it's Black Sabbath, what are we talking about? I love this record. I love it. It's one of my favorite ever productions. In fact, even just making the new Primordial, glasses about to fall off my head. Even making the new Primordial, this is one of the drum tones that I referenced. Now, of course, it's different once you add in the guitar and the bass when you're recording. But for a while, when we're just listening to the drum tracks, me and Chris Fielding, I was going back and listening to this record. It's Vinny Appice, masterful drum tone. I mean, this is, go and listen to the drums on Last in Line, DIO or something like this. Incredible. And also the Heaven and Hell album, incredible as well. This is heavy. You can hear the difference now, because even though Tyr was moving in this epic direction, you can hear as soon as Dio somehow comes into the room, there's an added gravity to the Sabbath situation. And this is a huge sounding record, which, if you don't know it, It's 1992, and like, you know, as I said, in 1992, I was annoying people, going, "Oh, this is a great record," and people were like, "Shut the fuck up! Hey, it's a blazing northern sky," and I don't know, you know, death metal, this, that, and the other. Um, Again, what's going on with the artwork? Another new logo, another new. It's weird the way sometimes bands in the 80s played fast and loose with having no continuity between records. Say like you take Dokken. Dokken has a very particular logo, which, you know, in the 90s they fucked around a bit with, because in the post grunge era they thought it anchored them to the 80s. Maybe that's similar to what Sabbath did in the 80s compared to the 70s, but they just keep messing with the aesthetic and it has no continuity. Like Tear, I mean, it doesn't look anything like any of these kind of records, but this is a great record, and this is where, and that's, you know, that's, I think, Dio's last action. They band are invited to perform, I think, a couple of 2 days supporting Ozzy in '93, maybe. I mean, which is a deliberate like fuck you from, I'm sure, from Sharon to fucking Ronnie after all the years, and he, a man of integrity, just quits. He just goes, "Nah, I'm not doing that." And in the end, Rob Halford sings, and those footage of Rob Halford singing, if I'm not incorrect, I'm pretty sure it's Rob Halford, which is really interesting watching Rob sing Sabbath songs. I mean, in a way, that's an incredible novelty. I'm not. They must exist somewhere in a bootleg record. Um, so then you've got Vinny Appice leaves. Goes with Dio with his solo band, and they make Strange Highways. Not a bad record. Anger Machines, bad record. And hard rock is kind of in this place. Old 80s heavy metal's in this place. Where does it go? Very soon after this, MTV Headbangers Ball stops showing videos. Heavy metal's kind of sunk. Grunge is sinking it. You know, all these kind of things are not really happening. And then two records I don't own. I did own Cross Purposes and Forbidden on cassette, but I don't have cassettes anymore. Both, again, rare records. Cross Purposes is not a bad record. The opening couple of tracks are really good. You're not really sure what's going on. It's like 1994. Excuse me, in Schuldigung. It has a song written on it by Eddie Van Halen for some reason. The support for Cross Purposes comes from Morbid Angel and Motorhead. Motorhead opening. How odd. And there's a Cross Purposes live DVD which I saw in Nick from Winterfellet's house, which he promised to show me at some stage, if only for the cats. Very cool stage moves. But look, on a European tour with Cathedral, this was Bobby Rondinelli is playing the drums. They quit. Bill Ward comes back for a couple of shows. Cross Purposes is, I mean, look, it's okay, but I think all of these people in the mid-90s, all these musicians after 20, 25 years, not really sure where to go. What do you do? And then the final record, which I'm going to bring up on the screen somewhere, Forbidden. Forbidden, I think, is, what year is Forbidden? 1996 or something like this. This is arguably the worst Black Sabbath album ever. It's produced by Ernie from Ice-T, Ernie C from from Body Count. Why? I don't know. It's a weird attempt to try and be modern or up to date, but I mean, really are fans of what was that soundtrack, Judgment Night, I think, with like Slayer and Body Count. There was some crossover going on at the time, but are Ice-T and rap fans really going, you know what, that new Black Sabbath album has got a rap from Ice-T on it, or Ice-T doing something on it? Oof. Yeah, it's just bad stuff, and I think that was the final nail in the coffin. That came out 1995, and it's widely considered European tour. Okay, more than Tiamat. Oh, Tiamat. What a band they were. And that's kind of leads you to 1997, where Ozzy rejoins and you get all the reunion stuff. And that's sort of where I will end this small little video on the albums that are not. I would recommend also the Heaven and Hell album somewhere, but these few records, Headless Cross, it's great. Tear is more Viking-y, more epic, more might suit a kind of doomy kind of palette. Eternal Idol is the hard rock banger, and I think the best produced of the couple of records. It's a heavy guitar tone, and like I said, Lost Forever. Go and find Lost Forever and play that and tell me that's not great hard rock. Okay, of course, I get it. It's missing the 70s, but hey, it was 1987. All right, over and out. Until the next time.